Hey everybody, it is Nick from the church here, and a couple announcements to pass your way before we start the Sunday service. First, we want to let you know about what is happening in July. We are so excited about this. In order to give our staff some much needed time off and a well-deserved break, we're going to be doing church a little bit differently. It's really important to us as staff, but also us as a church, to keep these Sunday services going because we know they mean so much. And so in order to go and have our staff rest, we're going to be doing them up a little bit differently. So for the first 2 Sundays of July, we are doing Zoom church. So instead of going to YouTube at 10 a.m. or going to our website at 10 a.m., we're asking you to click the link on the website or on the email that you'll get, and that will take you to a live Zoom call. And we have an amazing group of volunteers who are ready to lead us in music and prayer and meditation and some stories and have a time of connecting with God, each other, and ourselves that way. And then for the second 2 weeks of July, we're going back to YouTube online services at 10 a.m. And my great friend, the Reverend Brianne Swan, is going to be here, and she's going to be leading worship for us there. And those are both going to be so good. And then on August 1st, that first weekend of August during the long weekend, we're going to do Red Deer Lake Rests. We are encouraging all staff, all volunteers, and everybody in the church to practice that beautiful, ancient, spiritual art of rest. And then on August 8th and all the weekends of August, we're back to meeting online 10 a.m. on YouTube, which of course takes us to September. And we are so excited to announce that we have 2 in-person events already scheduled for September, the 19th and 26th. On the 19th, we are having our homecoming party. That is a chance for us all to gather at the church on Sunday morning and enjoy being in community together, to enjoy reconnecting and celebrating how we're still here and getting super excited about the year ahead. And then the weekend after, on the 26th, we're going to have our first in-person worship service. And now I know a lot of you are asking, well, why wait? Why not do it now? Restrictions are being lifted. What is stopping us from gathering now? And I get it. I hear ya. We have asked those questions too at the church. The board has talked a lot about this. And there are 2 main reasons why we're waiting until September. The first reason is, and the biggest one of them all, is we want to make sure we do this right. There are a lot of big questions and issues that we feel we need to spend some time asking before we just jump right back into in-person services. We need to have questions answered about, well, who's allowed in? Is everyone allowed in, or only vaccinated people allowed in? What do we do with the people who are immune compromised in our community who are scared about people coming in and spreading one of the variants? We have a lot of questions about what it means to be an affirming church where everyone is welcome, where we don't do the work of ensuring that people are safe and we care for their mental health. How do we do all that? Those are really big and important questions for us that really come out of our core values and the heart of our faith. And we need to spend some time exploring those. We need to spend some time getting some help navigating those different issues. And so we put the date in September so we could have some time to do this well and make sure that we can do this with integrity. The second reason is we need our staff to go take a break. Our staff are tired, they are burnt out, they are struggling, they are empty. And we want to make sure they can have some much needed time off before we even try to plan what it looks like to do a church service in person. Because that takes a lot of work from our staff. It also takes a whole lot of work from our volunteers. It takes some time to plan these things. And so when we sat back and when we looked at what's realistic, September was realistic. And we know that bums a lot of you out. We know a lot of you are really hoping to meet again in person sooner than later. But we're asking everyone just to hold off a bit longer. Let's see what happens. Let's make sure we do this faithfully and we love our neighbors and we love each other to the point where when we do gather, we know it's going to be safe. and that we can be that much more excited and not always be looking over our shoulders scared about what might be coming around the corner. Are you with me? Yeah, that's why we're waiting. And so between now and then, we have a lot more information coming your way. We have some more details about what we're anticipating the fall looking like. These plans will get more and more established as we spend some more and more time talking about it. So if you have any constructive or creative feedback about what the fall could look like, if you want to get in on this as we sit in our homecoming plan, let us know. Get in touch. The email is right here that you can email, and we'd love for you to be a part of this process. And so my friends, we're looking forward to seeing you online in some fun ways this July, and we are certainly looking forward to seeing you in person in September. But with that all said, let's get into this week's Sunday service. My friends, peace be with you. Welcome to our Sunday service. My name is Nick. I am the minister here at Red Deer Lake United Church, and we are an affirming church that gratefully gathers on Treaty 7 land, and what we are all about is finding in the way of Jesus this new way of being human and alive in this world. This way connected to God, each other, and ourselves. This way of life rooted in those values of hospitality, compassion, justice, spirituality, and community. This way of life that transforms us so we can go out and transform the world, turning it into one where everybody has enough and everyone has a place. Yeah, that is who we are. That is what we are all about. And this, in case you didn't know what you stumbled into, this is our Sunday service. This is the thing that we do each and every week to lead us deeper into that life. It's this thing we do to help us pull over, press pause, let our spirits catch up with our bodies, be seen and heard by affirming community, remember these life-giving essential truths, and remember that we are not alone, that God is with us, and God is a God of extravagant and indiscriminate love. Yeah, that is what this service is all about. And so whoever you are, however you found us, whatever you're bringing in with you, whatever's going on in here and or out here, know that you're welcome here. Know that you're wanted here. Know that you are accepted here. Know that there is room for you. And we are so stoked that you are with us today. So whoever you are, we invite you to take some time to go and put your name, say hello in the comments. Nailed it right there. Let us know how you're doing. Let us know where you are from. One of the great things about these services is we can actually have a live chat throughout it. We can actually talk with each other. In normal church and in-person church, we're all kind of in our pews and we're kind of scared to say anything. But here we can actually be in community during the service. It is so great. It's such a wonderful gift meeting online has given us. So if that's your jam, go and do that. But if that's not, that's cool. If you would rather go, if you're washing dishes, if you're just kind of sitting, that's all you can do, or maybe you're out camping somewhere or out on your patio and you're just watching us, that's great too. All that to say, do whatever you have to do to be here. Just know that whoever you are, whatever you are doing, you're welcome, wanted, and accepted here. And so we have a great service coming your way, but we're going to start with this. We're going to kind of start soft with an opening meditation. This meditation that really takes to heart those words that we began with. Peace be with you. It is a chance to help us to finish arriving, to let our spirits catch up with our bodies, and to really feel that presence of God in us and around us, to remind us that this is a good place to be. So as we start our service, I invite you to breathe deep, to lean into this, to feel the presence of God in you and around you. And so as we start this service, my friends, may peace be with you.
When peace like a river attendeth There is room for all, sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all.
There is room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love.
And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all.
There is room for all in the shadow of God's wing. There is room for all sheltered in God's love. And I rejoice and sing, my refuge and my rock in whom I trust. There is room for all. There is room for all.
There is room for all.
There is room for all.
There is room for all.
So how was that? Did that help you finish arriving? I hope it did. I hope that helped you open up, soften up, to help you choose to be here and open to the presence of that Spirit that we call holy. And so having done all that work, having finished arriving and knowing that this is a good place to be, let's say a prayer. So I invite you to do whatever you do when you pray. You can stand up, you can sit down, you can lay down. It doesn't matter. But let's go and take a moment to connect with that divine presence. And so my friends, would you pray with me, please? So God, here we are. All kinds of people from all kinds of places, but all of us here to connect with you. And so trusting that you are a God of extravagant and indiscriminate love, trusting that you are with us and for us. Help us to feel your presence. Help us to breathe you in. And help us to use this time to reconnect with you, with others and with ourselves, and leave here different. A bit more alive, a bit more on fire than when we came in. Help us use this time to become the kinds of people that you call us to be. People of light, life, and love. And it's in thinking about that call to be those people that we think of the prayer that your Son taught us to pray. And we pray it together saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. So if you have been with us for a while now, definitely over the past couple months, but certainly over the past 5 to 8 years, one of the things that you'll notice is we talk about a lot of stuff. And not just churchy stuff, not just Bible, God, Jesus-y stuff. We talk a lot about life stuff. We explore a lot of issues that we are facing as individuals, but also as a collective, as a society. Over the past, couple of years, we've had a lot of really in-depth conversations about climate change. We've talked about how to be better allies and advocates for our Black, Indigenous, and people of color siblings, for our LGBTQIA siblings. We've talked about mental health a whole lot. We've talked about economic, injustice, and those are just to name a few. And we talk about all of that stuff. We're really intentional about doing all that stuff, not just because we believe that everything is spiritual, but also because what we believe matters. Yeah, we talk about that because what we believe matters. What we say is good and true, what we say is holy and reverent, that matters. And it matters because, well, as we'll see in this meditation that we're about to enter into, it matters because it shapes everything. And it's always good to take some time and ask, what is it that we believe? What do we hold as good, true, holy, and reverent? Because how we believe and what we believe, it shapes everything. And so for our grace and renewal today, we're going to enter into responsive liturgy. So that's one of those things where I say something and you say something back, which I know is kind of weird because we're not doing it in person. But let's just own it. Let's lean into this and know that there is something powerful about naming things, about saying things aloud. And through this call and response, we're going to remember that our beliefs aren't insignificant, but what we believe matters. And it is our job as people of faith to always be looking at our beliefs to make sure that they are orientated more and more and more towards love. And so, my friends, I invite you to do this liturgy with me. You are going to be in the bold. And let's remember together that what we believe matters. What we believe matters. What we believe matters because what we believe shapes us and our world. Some beliefs build walls, while some build tables. Some push people away, while others draw them in. Some foster oppression, while others spark liberation. What we believe matters. Some beliefs tell others about a world they don't belong to, while others tell of a world where everyone belongs just as they are. Some beliefs are like shadows, clouding our days with fear and anxiety. Other beliefs are like sunshine, blessing us with hope and courage. What we believe matters. Some beliefs bring death, disconnecting us from God, each other, and ourselves. Other beliefs bring life, renewing our connection to God, each other, and ourselves. What we believe matters. So knowing what we believe matters, knowing they shape everything, and knowing we're called to shape our lives and world with love, may we have the humility, courage, and imagination to always be open to being wrong, changing our minds, and to learning more. May we dare to put down the beliefs that hurt and confuse, pick up the beliefs that heal and reconcile, and do the work of ensuring that what we believe always leads to a life and world of extravagant and indiscriminate love. And the people say, "Let it be so. Amen." So a reading from the Gospel according to Mark. Jesus crossed the lake again, and on the other side a large crowd had gathered around him on the shore. Jairus, one of the synagogue leaders, he came forward. When he saw Jesus, he fell at his feet and pleaded with him, "My daughter is about to die. Please, come and place your hands on her so that she may be healed and live." So Jesus went with him. A swarm of people were following Jesus, crowding in on him. A woman was there who had been bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a lot under the care of many doctors and had spent everything she had without getting any better. In fact, she had gotten worse. Because she had heard about Jesus, she came up behind him in the crowd and touched his clothes. She was thinking, if I can just touch his clothes, I will be healed. Her bleeding immediately stopped, and she sensed in her body that her illness had been healed. At that very moment, Jesus recognized that power had gone out of him. He turned around to the crowd and said, "Who touched my clothes?" His disciples said to him, "Don't you see the crowd pressing against you? Yet you asked, 'Who touched me?'" But Jesus looked around carefully to see who had done it. The woman, full of fear and trembling, came forward. Knowing what had happened to her, she fell down in front of Jesus and told him the whole truth. He responded, "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace, healed from your disease." While Jesus was still speaking with her, messengers came from the synagogue leader's house, saying to Jairus, "Your daughter has died. Why bother the teacher any longer?" But Jesus overheard the report and said to the synagogue leader, "Don't be afraid. Just keep trusting." He didn't allow anyone to follow him except for Peter, James, and John, James's brother. They came to the synagogue leader's house, and he saw a commotion, with people crying and wailing loudly. Jesus went in and said to them, "What's all this commotion and crying about? The child isn't dead. She's only sleeping." They laughed at him, but he threw them all out. Then, taking the child's parents and his disciples with him, he went to the room where the child was. Taking her hand, he said to her, "Young woman, get up." Suddenly the young woman got up and began to walk around. She was 12 years old. They were shocked. He gave them strict orders that no one should know what had happened. Then he told them to give her something to eat. Hear what the Spirit is saying to the church. God be with you. So before we get into the sermon, a couple things to go over. So first, we're going to try to keep this one short. I know last week's sermon was a little bit long, and by a little bit I mean, it was long. And that's fine, whatever, but to compensate it, we're going to go on the shorter end of things this week. It's really surprisingly hard to time yourself when you're just looking at the screen. I don't have you guys being like, "Oh my God, he's got to hurry things up to chart how long I'm taking." So we're going to try to keep this one short. And second, that story we just heard, we're going to treat it the way that my nephew treats his Oreos. We're only going after the middle. The 2 bits on the end, you can just forget about them, throw them out, put them aside. It doesn't matter. All we're going to do is hang out with that unnamed woman. And I want to spend all our time hanging out with her because here's the deal. Here's the thing that I keep thinking about whenever I hear this story. I can't decide whether this story is absolutely tragic or absolutely inspiring. Anyone with me? Yeah, I can't decide if this is a story about this courageous and powerful woman and therefore this invitation to emulate her, or if this is a story about just how broken our world can get and therefore an invitation to go heal and fix it. And so we're going to spend some time walking through this story about that unnamed woman and see if we can find which story this is. And so to help us figure that out, to help us figure out what this story is saying to us about what it means to be human and alive in this world, we're going to spend some time getting to know this woman. We're going to spend some time with the small details in here that actually tell us a lot about her, and therefore the hope is we can find out just what kind of story this is. And so first, and perhaps the most obvious one, is that she's unnamed. She doesn't have a name. She is just the bleeding woman. Which right away tells us a lot, doesn't it? Yeah. Her identity is her condition. She is the woman who has been constantly hemorrhaging blood, who has been non-stop menstruating for 12 years. Whoever she was before the bleeding started is now gone. And now all she's known for now is simply something that's happened to her. All she is her condition. She's become that label. She is the bleeding woman. And we're told she's been that way for 12 entire years. And that also tells us a lot. Because the thing is, this wasn't only a significant health issue, this was also a significant social and spiritual issue. Because of the laws and codes that existed in this day, women who were on their periods, they were considered unclean. It was a whole thing having to do with blood, and therefore the practice was that until a week after your period stopped, women were instructed to go be away from their homes, to be outside of their communities. And not only that, they were to be seen as apart from God. They were seen as separate, as living outside of God's presence. And now we can deconstruct all of that another day. We can talk about how those kinds of purity codes are still at work in our own church, in our own society. But for now, let's pay attention to what that would have meant for that woman. Let's pay attention to how all of that practice and those kinds of policies, how they would have impacted her life. Because that's really where we can get the weight of it. Because that was 12 years of being told by religious leaders and institutions that she is other, that she is outside of God's presence. That was 12 years of living within an entire social system that forced her out and kept her excluded and separate. That was 12 years of missed birthdays, of holiday dinners being missed, of concerts being missed, 12 years of watching everything from a distance. That was 12 years of relationships fading, of friends moving on, of slowly and slowly and slowly being forgotten and left behind. That was 12 years of pain and discomfort and not feeling safe within her body. Yeah. And it's not like she didn't try to get help. It's not like we can paint her as a victim and saying like, hey, you just gotta go and get help. Because we're told that she saw doctor after doctor after doctor, and she lost all her money trying to get help. And again, that tells us a lot. That tells us something. See, from what we know about the time, her condition wasn't that uncommon. It was actually quite treatable. And so the fact that it was treatable suggests that doctors just didn't want to treat her. It suggests that even though the system could treat her condition, the system didn't want to treat the person. It suggests that she didn't have access to proper medical care. It suggests that the community that she had didn't want to back her up and didn't want to advocate for her, didn't want to rally around her and get her the help that she needed. Which is probably why she lost all her money. A lot of commentators assume that because no one else would treat her within the system, she had to go outside of it. And most likely she fell victim to con artists and scammers, these people who took all her money, who preyed on her desperation and her loneliness. People who would have left her literally for dead. Still stigmatized, still alone, still in pain and bleeding, worse off, the story even says. But this time without any resources to care for herself. Yeah, slowly her story gets to get colored in. We understand a bit more about what is going on here. This is all the stuff that she was dealing with. And this is why I feel her story is just so damn tragic. Because when I zoom out, all I see is how the community, how the institution, how the socioeconomic and religious system completely and utterly failed her. All I see is just how flawed and broken the society would have been to have this woman suffer alone and be dehumanized for 12 straight years. All I see is this this cause for deep lament because it shouldn't have gone down like that. It shouldn't have happened that way. She didn't need to live like this. That shouldn't have been her story. Anyone else feeling that? And I have to wonder if that's the reason she's in there, if that's the whole point of this story. If the writer of the story wants us to focus in on the tragic nature of all of this. That she's in there for us to see, oh, yeah, the world is broken. People are being failed. And then we can turn our gaze and see how that still happens today. People still get left behind. Not much has changed. There is still tragedy all around us. There is still so much to lament. It just takes a quick internet search to get a few of these. This week, 751 Indigenous children were found in yet another mass grave. 30% of Canadians have trouble accessing adequate medical care. 73% of Indigenous and Inuit communities don't have access to safe, consistent, clean water. 73%. The stigma around mental health still drives people to suicide and stops people from asking for help. Suicide rates among LGBTQIA youth go up and up and up because they are terrified to ask for help. Worldwide, it is estimated that 8.6 million people die from treatable diseases every year because systems don't want to treat them. So much tragedy. So much to lament. These stats aren't hard to find, and if you go for a walk downtown or in your neighborhoods, they're not hard to see for ourselves. These stories are being told all around us. Our world fails so many people time and time and time again. Our world still robs people of their humanity and their dignity. Our systems still don't work. So many people, too many people have very similar stories to the bleeding woman. And so as I think about that, as I sit with that, as I use this story to make me look around me, I wonder if that's why she's in there. I wonder if that's what this story wants us to sit with. I wonder if she's in there to be this really tragic reminder of the thing at the very heart of our faith and the heart of our spirituality. This truth that really shapes everything. This truth that says we are all one. That we are responsible for one another. That we are especially responsible for the least of these. That it is our responsibility to fix and heal this broken world. That it is our job to see our neighbors as ourselves. That we need to go out of our way to see what is hurting and taking life away from people. That it is our job to tear down things that are corrupt and broken and build up things that are good and that work. That it is our job, as the prophet said, to go out and be repairers and restorers of the universe. To make sure that stories like that never get told again. But then, as I sit with that, I'm like, yeah, that's good, that's true. There's so much work to be done. Thank you for that lesson. Then I keep reading. And I see what that woman does next. Because this is just so stunning. I find this just so captivating and powerful. Because despite all the religious and social pressure for her to stay hidden in the back away from the crowds, despite all the defeat and damage that she would have experienced, despite all the looks and abuse she could expect by working her way into the crowd, despite the rejection that she could most certainly count on, despite the trouble she could get into, in this amazing act of courage, in this beautiful declaration of self-worth, in this inspiring demonstration of trust, in this subversive and radical act of defiance to everything that told her, no, you don't get to have a different story, she says, yes, I do. Despite everything that told her otherwise, she says, yes, I am worthy of a new story. I am worthy of healing. I know they are wrong. I know this is not right. I know God will do this for me. I know it doesn't have to be this way anymore. I will do this myself. And so she leaves the back. And she pushes her way through the crowd, breaking every rule and every convention there is. And without even stopping to be seen, and without even asking for permission, she reaches out. She touches Jesus' coat, and she finds herself healed. And this is where this story takes on a whole new meaning for me, because how inspiring is that? She just took it. She just went and took it. She knew the people were wrong. She knew the system was broken. She knew it doesn't have to be this way, that it shouldn't be this way. She knew she was so much more than her condition. She knew God was on her side. She knew God wasn't in all those rules and regulations. And so instead of listening to all of that, instead of submitting and surrendering to those forces, instead of giving in to the dominant wisdom that said no, instead of giving up and giving in, she chose to take matter into her own hands. She chose to believe she was worthy of new life, to choose that her story didn't have to be finished. And so when the opportunity came, when Jesus walked by, when the very presence of God walked by her, she just took it. She just went for it. She owned it. And the coolest part, it worked. She got healed. She was right. She got what she was looking for. And I wonder if this is the takeaway that Mark, the writer of the story, wants us to have, because this takes us to another truth at the very heart of our faith, another one that makes the whole thing work. This truth, this is despite what anyone might tell you, despite how the world is set up, despite what you might even tell yourself, that you are worthy of life, that you are worthy of a deep, full, and meaningful existence, that you are worthy of life. Yeah, that's a truth at the very heart of it all. And I like this story because it not only leads us to that truth, but also reminds us that sometimes, and maybe all the time, but sometimes we can't wait for life to be given to us. We can't wait for someone to give it to us. We can't always expect for the systems to make it happen for us. But sometimes we just need to take it for ourselves. Sometimes it is up to us to go and chase after the life that we deserve and are entitled to. Sometimes we need to be the ones who believe so much in ourselves, so much in our place, in our belonging, in our dignity, and our value, that we just need to go and take it for ourselves. That we need to be the ones who say yes to their no. Are you with me? Yeah, I think that's what this story is getting us to remember. And how inspiring is that, right? I think we all need to hear that. I know I do. Because for those of us who are just so overcome by fear or grief right now, for those of us who have experienced being cast out and pushed aside and forgotten, for those of us who have life being taken away, maybe we need to hear that. Maybe we need someone to show us that it is possible to stand up for ourselves, but also someone to show us how God will respond. That God will always say yes, because God is a God of life. Yeah, inspiring, I know. So this takes us back to my first question. Which story is this? Is this a tragic story, or is this an inspiring story? Is this a story that invites us to go out and be people who repair and restore the universe? Or is this a story that invites us to go and be like that bleeding woman? To be people who trust that God will always say yes to our demands for life? Well, it's got to be both, right? It's got to be both. It's both. All at once, this is a story with two powerful, important takeaways. It's a story that reminds us that this world is broken. that people are being left behind, that it is flawed, and that stories like this are being told each and every day. And our job is to go out and fix it, to heal this world and turn it into one where everyone does have enough and everyone does have a place. And it's a story that reminds us that sometimes it's up to us. And we have to be people who chase after life, who demand life, who don't wait for it to be given to us because we are deserving of it. And God is a God who always says yes to life because God is a God of life. And so whoever you are, whatever's going on in your life, pick which one you need it to be. That's the cool thing about these stories, is that as we grow and experience different things in life, the stories take on different meanings. And so whichever one it is for you, may you hear this story. May you sit with it. May it go to work. And may grace and peace be with you.
Go now in peace, never be afraid. God will go with you each hour every day. Go now in faith, steadfast, strong and true. Know He will guide you in all you do. Go now in love and show you believe. Reach out to others so all the world can see. God will be there, watching from above. Go now in peace, in faith and in love. Amen. Amen.
All right, my friends, that is everything for this week. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Our hope and our prayer is that you're leaving here different. Maybe a bit more alive than when you came in. Maybe a bit more rested. Maybe feeling seen and heard. Maybe holding on to something that is going to go to work within you. But whatever it is, I hope that it does go to work. And I hope it draws you deeper into the kind of life that Jesus opens up for us. Before you go, I do want to invite you to join in on our church Zoom call. We're about to do that right now. The link is below. Come join us. It's where we get to connect, get to see one another, and take the conversations that got started here to the next level. And you are all more than welcome to do that. So click the link. If you are picking up what we're putting down, if you are enjoying these things, if you believe in the work that we are doing, I would love to ask you to donate to our church. There is a link below that will take you to our donations page. Every little bit counts. It all matters, and it helps us do this work of fostering connection, hope, meaning, and purpose in our world. And so please go and do that. Know it matters, and we are so, so grateful for all that you give. And make sure you check out our stuff. Down there are all kinds of links to all kinds of really good stuff. It's all important and all there for you to get in on regardless of who you are. So go check that stuff out, and we'll see you here next week when we go on our church-wide Zoom call for our Sunday service. It's going to be so good. I am off for a month. I'll see you sometime in August. And so my friends, as you head out into the summertime, as you head into whatever is next, I hope it is amazing. I hope it is restful. And may you go in peace. May you go in love. May you go and do it loudly. And to that, all of God's people say, Amen.